Welcome to Two Gents live broadcast. I'm Ron Spikes. I'm part of the people that's, I'm just a part of what's all involved in Two Gents podcast. I'm not going to keep you here long today, but we like to educate over here. We like to share information that goes out, and we like to be fair. We're a diverse station. We just don't take one side of it and kind of put it out there and not let everybody have an opportunity to share knowledge. Knowledge is the key. Knowledge is the key to understanding whether you're a Democrat or Republican. And if one of them is failing us, we should be able to get on this media and say something about it. This is our opportunity to reach out and kind of reach out to our people. I'm not a newscaster. I'm not a politician. I'm not Democrat. I'm not Republican. I'm about what's fair and what's right and what we can do to make it better. And when we get to that point where I think I said it in the statement that, some people rather hear a lie. They rather digest a sugar-coated truth than have somebody just lay it out for them. Some people will look at the messenger, and when they look at the messenger, they don't understand what it's all about. Now, when I finish with this, I hope that you look at this and say, you know what? Why didn't our government do this before? They could tell us about everything else that was going on. They could tell us about we had this problem, we had that problem, we got things that's going on that you really don't understand, and I really just can't get into it. Or if somebody asks them a direct question, they don't give a direct answer. But when it starts to happen within our government, when we start to see it get to that point where you don't really have to ask questions. You can kind of follow through and find your own information. It kind of makes you wonder, what have they been doing to us all these years? They fed us what they wanted us to hear. They did never want us to dig into the truth. And sometimes when you dig into the truth, it hurts. It doesn't matter who it comes from. Let me take that away from the equation. It doesn't matter who it could come from me. It could come from anybody else that's out there. But they're not doing that. They're not sharing the information to you to make a good decision. And I don't see either party jumping on board and say, you know what? We've been just riding our time out on the hill. We've been having these meetings, riding our time out on the hill. We're guilty. Because every once in a while, something has to get up and say, you know what? They always point the finger. And one thing about pointing the finger, I remember a pastor saying, he said, when you point that finger, look at where that thumb is pointing. Look at where that thumb is pointing. That thumb is pointing right back at you when you point that finger. And if it's pointing back at you, Republican, Democrat, this show tonight don't have anything to do with either one of them. I'm not going to jump on one side or the other one tonight. I'm going to jump smack dab in the middle, and I'm going to address the problem that's been going on, and how it got here, I don't care. But it should have been resolved. It was here 10 years ago, 14 years ago, 15, 25, 30 years ago. It should have been addressed. Because at some point, you're going to run out of money. The government is no different than your household. If they don't give you a check, if you don't get a check from where you're working, where you go out and work 8 hours a day and you come home and at the end of the week or bi-weekly or monthly, however you get paid, if that check is not there, okay, let's take it a little bit further. If that check is not there, for the first time, you might be good with it. The second time, some people still be good with it. About the third or fourth time that check is missing, you start analyzing things. You start looking at your own budget. You start going to the people that's paying your salary, and you saying, wait a minute, I'm putting in these hours. I understand last week, I understand the week before, but how come I don't have a check now? You gave me excuse after excuse after excuse. And I think that's what we let our government do. Give us excuses. Excuse after excuse after excuse. It's time out for that. It's time out for that. It's time out for people deceiving our government, taking our tax dollars and using them any kind of way that they want to. And that's not a Democratic problem. That's not a Republican problem. But it was something that they should have been looking into. That they should have been looking into. They didn't care about it. They didn't care about that. No, they just, man, it would be like you going in your backyard picking money off a tree. You got a money tree. I remember it was an old movie about that, where they had a tree that produced money in the back, and they just go back there and pick money off the tree, pick money off the tree. You know, eventually fall gonna come. Eventually winter gonna come. And if you're just spending that money in any kind of way that you want to, without any accountability, something's gonna happen. Something's got to give. I don't care, and I'm gonna say this, and I want to make this clear. I do not care who the messenger is. And that's the problem with us. We worried about the messenger, not the message that he's bringing. Your house could be on fire, but your worst enemy is letting you know that the back of your house is on fire, but the front of your house ain't got there. And he at the door trying to tell you, so I see him out there. I ain't opening the door. So you go back into your house and you realize that, hey, I smell smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And about that time, you don't have time to do nothing but get the people that you care about out of the house, because you would have had time if you would listen to the messenger that was at the front door. At the front door. I'm sorry about my telephone going off, but if you would have listened to the messenger that was at the front door. Don't look at who's bringing the message. Try to find out what he's talking about. With all the technology that we got today, you don't even have to open the door. Just use your technology. So as I get into this, I'm telling you, I'm not questioning the messenger. I'm just taking it from where it starts at. And DOGE is one of those things where I'm not going to question the messenger. I just need you to listen and go do your own research. As we always say here, go do your own research. Don't take mine, but I'm going to put it out there, because somebody put it, when they shipped it to me, I was like, I did the messenger thing. But after listening to it for a while, I said, wait a minute, hold up. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. See, I want them stars to stay where they at. I don't want them stars to turn into those stripes that's behind me. We got enough of them out there. They're elected officials, Republicans and Democrats doing this. They trying to figure out where they're going. But this ain't about figuring out where you're going. This is about putting more money into your pocket, helping you realize that if you continue down this path, that messenger is telling you if you continue down this path, that's going to be over with. You remember all them reports talking about, and I got to go here before I even get into it, because I don't want to keep you here that long. All the messages talking about Social Security going to run out. Medicaid going to run out. All those benefits going to be canceled, because they all have a number on them. But what if that number was just a little bit skewed because we didn't look close enough? Because we didn't look close enough. D, you know, I respect you more than anything. I respect what you did, because you made a point today, and you said, Ron, I'm not going to tell you that they right or wrong, but I listened to them, and I got some facts from what they were saying. Not only did I get some facts, but they backed it up, and they told me where I could go find it, and they putting the information out there for you to go research on your own. And if you want, it doesn't matter how far you want to dove into it, how much truth you think is to it. Do your research. Do your own research. Don't just take my advice for it. Do your own research. I want to show you something, and I need to show you something real quick. I call this one the most savings. And some of y'all can see it. I got glasses, so I'm gonna have to lean in because I took it as an image. It said the Department of Health and Human Services garnered the most savings out there that was being used. Department of Education. I can't read. General Services Administration, EPA, DOL, SSA. But some of the things that they saved you, that they made savings in, is not about taking away your checks. And see, you want to kill the messenger, but some of the stuff that you don't know about that was going on within some of these departments that are listed here will shock you. Will just blow you away. But you don't hear everybody talking about this. One of the departments that they had the least savings in, and I'm going to bring this up, was the Department of Energy, Department of Transportation, State, DOJ, DOC, NASA, HUD, DOT, and VA, SBA. It's a couple of things. I want you to remember those names. Again, don't take away from the messenger. And again, where you can get this information for yourself, while I'm on the air, you can get it right now. Here. I need to add this to the stage. Let me see if I can add it. I'm having a little technical issue right now, but I need to remove what's up there and I need to add this to the stage. DOGE has a website. I'm going to go over here because I want y'all to make sure that y'all see it. DOGE has a website. This DOGE stands for the Department of Government Efficiencies, Savings, Payments, Spent, Workforce, Regulations, and all of that is up here. They got a wall. You know how we always talk about delivering receipts? These are a wall of receipts from different departments that you can go on. And Google DOGE, go to their website. I want to make sure that you go to their website. I want you to go through. You see all of this leases from different countries, from different areas in the United States. The Bureau, they got so much stuff: Internal Revenue Service Office, National Service, Office of Secretary, Office of the Secretary again. They got Animal and Plant Health Services, Department of Health. Each and every one of those departments that they went through and they made cuts in, they showing you what they did. Now, whether or not you believe them or not, it's up to you. But go research it for yourself. And if you click on one of those things up there, if you click on save, they'll break it down and show you how much they saved. They'll give you their report on what they did to get there. And the only thing you have to do is review it. You can repute the information if you want to, but go through there and at least do that part. Don't go out there and listen to these talking heads that's coming on the media saying, oh, DOGE is bad, DOGE is this, DOGE is that. Everything, you can't believe because of the messenger. Sometimes you have to listen to the messenger. Sometimes the messenger is making sense. I mean, every department that they went through and the cuts that they made, but here's what this report don't show you. And this is where I'm gonna have to get into this because I'm gonna have to go to another screen, but I'm gonna have to remove this other one off the page. That's my alarm going off, reminding me that I had a show to do. But anyway, I would have been late if I would listen to that show. But don't, like I said, don't crucify the messenger. Don't crucify the messenger. I need to share another screen so you can see. I need to share another screen so you can see. Because if you listen for yourself, I think you kind of agree with me. You can't hate the messenger. So I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna try to get this to play a little bit, and you need to go out there. If you don't believe me, go out there and do it on your own. I never get to a point where I think I have all the answers, but I think I should share you some information. And before you go off and say, I see that Fox News, they sharing false information. They not telling the truth. If they not telling the truth, I want you just to listen for a little while and find out who really not telling you the truth. I want you to give them your open ear, and I just need you to listen. And while you listening, educate yourself a little bit. Don't educate yourself here. Go out and find it out for yourself. See if any of this is true. If it's not, well, I'm just a part. I'm them talking heads is out there, but I'm gonna share some facts right now. And
I know there's a lot of interest in this. You know, first let me start with you, Elon. What are the budgetary savings goals, and how much do you think you've achieved so far?
Our goal is to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion. From a nominal deficit of $2 trillion to try to cut the deficit in half to $1 trillion, or looked at it in total federal spending to drop the federal spending from $7 trillion to $6 trillion. We want to reduce the spending by eliminating waste and fraud, reduce the spending by 15%, which seems really quite achievable. The government is not efficient, and there's a lot of waste and fraud. So we feel confident that a 15% reduction can be done without affecting any of the critical government services.
I'm going to talk to all the guys.
If not making it better.
I'm going to talk to all the guys.
I want you. Did you hear what he said? He's making cuts in areas of government waste. As we get further into this, all those guys, those talking heads that's out there that's telling you that, oh no, DOGE, we don't need DOGE. Oh, we need. Let me tell you, by the end of this video, it's supposed to be another one coming on tonight. By the end of this video, if you're not asking your official that you've elected in the office why they wasn't looking into some of this stuff, it's something wrong with you, because then you are part of the problem.
Guys hear about the specifics, but for you, what's the most astonishing thing you've found out in this process?
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, like the simple survey that was.
Don't kill the messenger. But did you hear what he said? We were routinely. And I know somebody criticized me about saying my words. I had an impairment when I was younger, and I'm getting past it. I used to stutter a lot when I was a child, and it seems like the older I get, the more I'm starting to have it happen again. So please bear with me. I got an impairment. Don't put me out the pasture yet. I'm gonna get there. Just bear with me, please. But I need you to understand, routinely found $1 billion worth of waste. That's important.
Literally 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000. The government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For just the survey?
$1 billion for a simple online survey. Do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing. It was like insane.
You technically are a special government employee, and you're supposed to be 130 days. Are you going to continue past that, or do you think that's what you're going to do? Or?
Well, I think we will have accomplished most of the work required to reduce the deficit.
Wait a minute. Have you heard that in the media? I just heard it myself, and I want to make sure that I put emphasis on it. He's only going to be there for 130 days. 130 days. This panel of people behind him, I got to go. I don't want to be here that long. Let's go. Just think about what he just said. 130 days. he will no longer be there.
By $1 trillion within that time frame.
So in that time frame, 130
Yes.
days. And the process is a report at some point, at 100 days? Or?
Not really a report. We are cutting the waste and fraud in real time. So every day that passes, our goal is to reduce the waste and fraud by $4 billion a day, every day, 7 days a week. And so far, we are succeeding.
And I'm going to talk of the specifics, but there obviously are DOGE critics who are reading all kinds of stuff. Obviously, lawmakers on the other side of the aisle are attacking you. And they characterize the approach as this: fire, ready, and then aim. And how do you approach that? How do you respond to that?
Well, I do agree that we actually want to be careful in the cuts. So we want to measure twice, if not thrice, and cut once. Actually, that is our approach. They may characterize it as shooting from the hip, but it is anything but that. Which is not to say that we don't make mistakes. If we were to approach this with the standard of making no mistakes at all, that would be like saying someone in baseball's got to bat 1,000. That's impossible. So when we do make mistakes, we correct them quickly, and we move on.
Some people say this shouldn't take a rocket scientist. Steve Davis, you are a rocket scientist.
Used to be.
Yeah, I know. And now essentially you're the chief operating officer of DOGE, day-to-day operations. Fair to say?
Yeah, part of the DOGE team.
So how did you end up here? What's the biggest challenge you see?
The reason I'm here, which is probably for many, is that I think the goal is incredibly inspiring. I think most of the taxpayers in the country would agree that in order to have the country going bankrupt would be a very bad thing, and therefore the country going not bankrupt is a good thing. That all of us are willing to kind of put our lives on hold in order to do. I think the thing that's special right now is we actually believe there's a chance to succeed, that there's an administration that's supportive.
Now, I'm not going to stop it too many more times, but I need you to hear what he just said. They put their life on hold. Successful businessmen. I'm not saying that they perfect. And I ain't gonna go down that aisle where they don't look, where majority of them on that stage don't look like me. It doesn't matter who the truth is coming from. Sometimes you gotta listen. And I don't think majority of the people that look like me, they see that Fox News and they don't want to listen to it. They just turn past it. Or they so turned off by politics because it didn't go their way during the election that they're not listening. They're not listening. They don't want to listen. I hope that in this media that I'm using, that people start to listen. I hope that other channels that can deliver the message, maybe deliver it better than me, and help you understand this may not be a bad thing. But the other part of it is this. What if, just my opinion, I'm gonna let you know when it's my opinion. What if they did that to everybody that's in the Senate and in the Congress? Because I know it's a trend that's going on. They can't pay their bills before they go into office. But after they come out of office, man, they got all, and their salary is it's standard. That check come just like me and yours. It's public records of what they get paid, when they get paid. But all of a sudden, their investments, and I'm gonna leave that there. Their investments, they didn't have any going in. I'm just gonna say that. Let's listen a little bit more.
And a great cabinet and just a great group that will actually make success a possible outcome. And I think that's, given the inspiring mission and given the non-zero chance of success, it was worth doing.
I'd just like to sort of reemphasize that point. The success of DOGE is only possible with President Trump and with the outstanding cabinet that he selected. It would be impossible without the support of the president and the cabinet.
But you're finding the money. I mean, it's a big number.
I don't like that part. I pause. I don't like that part because then it seems like I'm going against my own word, the messenger. But how many Democrats have we followed that never went down the path to investigate what was going on in America? How our tax dollars were being spent. You never heard anybody come out and say that. I take that back. Nancy Pelosi said that we need to investigate Medicare and Social Security because it's some abuse going over there. So they knew it was there, but they never chose to investigate it. And now that it's being investigated, guess what? They don't like it. Here we go.
That's right.
Yeah, like Elon said, the minimum impulse bid is often $1 billion. So, for example, the $830 million, which was the online survey, that's an enormous amount of money that wouldn't have been found if the DOGE team wasn't working with it, in that case, the Department of Interior. But then taking it one step further, DOGE then publishes these things on our website for maximum transparency. So now the general public, it would have been impossible for the general public to have seen that. Now anyone can just log into doge.gov anytime and see these payments. As they're not yet in real time, they're close, but they'll probably be in real time within the next few weeks.
But the process, it still involves Congress, right?
Wait a minute. I don't want y'all to miss that point. And I know I'm highlighting a lot, but you can go out and research it for yourself. They're saying what they did, but then they putting it online so you can see it. That's the reason why that website, DOGE.com, DOGE, what is it called? I got that from D. So DOGE.gov.savings. Everything that they're doing, they putting it out there, letting you see it. You remember that man that said, when I get elected, I'm gonna sign those executive orders right in front of you? And we wonder how come our young people following him instead of following. That's the reason why. Because they putting it out there. They putting it out there so you can see it, but most people won't research it. Most people with a computer won't look it up. They rather listen to that guy that's on the news that's in front of them saying exactly what they want to hear. Soon as somebody says something that they don't want to hear that might be important, they turn the channel. Oh, I ain't giving them I ain't giving them no ratings on my account. Sometimes you can't kill a messenger. You got to listen to the messenger too. Here we go.
At some level?
We try to keep Congress as informed as possible, but the law does say that money needs to be spent correctly. It should not be spent fraudulently or wastefully. It's not contrary to Congress to avoid waste and fraud. It is consistent with the law and consistent with Congress. And we've seen actually great support, at least from the Republican side of the House, and occasionally some Democrats too. It's nice to see people cross the aisle once in a while. Usually when they attack DOGE, they never attack any of the specifics. So they'll say what we're doing is somehow unconstitutional or illegal or whatever. We're like, well, which line of the cost savings do you disagree with? And they can't point to any. And we list them all on doge.gov and the DOGE handle on X. And you'll see just outrageous things, one outrageous thing after another.
Joe Gabbia, besides Elon, you're one of several billionaires here, co-founder of Airbnb, and you wanted to help out.
I bumped into Anthony and Elon probably back in February, and they told me something about a mine that was dealt with retirement, and they said they needed somebody to help out to fix retirement in the government. I love the challenge, so I jumped on board, and it turns out there is actually a mine in Pennsylvania that houses every paper document for the retirement process in the government. Now picture this. This giant cave has 22,000 filing cabinets, stacked 10 high to house 400 million pieces of paper. It's a process that started in the 1950s and largely hasn't changed in the last 70 years. And so as you dug into it, we found retirement cases that had so much paper, they had to fit it on a shipping pallet. So the process takes many months, and we're going to make it just many days.
Will it be digitized, or how?
Absolutely. So this will be an online digital process that will take just a few days at most. And I really think, it's an injustice to civil servants who are subjected to these processes that are older than the age of half the people watching your show tonight. So we really believe that the government can have an Apple Store-like experience, beautifully designed, great user experience, modern systems.
Because right now it's by hand.
Yes, the retirement process is all by paper, literally with people carrying paper in manila envelopes into this gigantic mine.
So they can't retire more than a certain number every month.
Yes.
About 8,000 a month.
That's how the reason we discovered it was we were saying like, well, let's encourage voluntary retirement. They said, well, the most they could do is 8,000 a month, and even under normal circumstances, it can take 6 to 9 months just to have your retirement paperwork processed, and they often get the calculations wrong. So we're like, well, why would it take so long to retire? And they're like, well, because of the mine. And they're like, what do you mean a mine? What's a mine got to do with retiring? And that's where we discovered that all the retirement stuff is still done by paper in a process that looks identical to what occurred in the 1950s. Like if we took a snapshot of the mine when it first started in the 50s to today, it looks the same.
It's amazing. So how long do you think it'll take to turn over?
We're working as fast as we can. Probably next couple of months we'll have this overhauled. And I really think, again, like, why are we subjecting our federal workers to processes that they actually have to go through a training just to retire from the government? There's a whole training program that people have to go through in order to retire. I think we can do better for them.
Aram Moganasi, DOGE engineer. You go into these places, one of the more than a dozen engineers, first people to go into the agencies and view the computer data sets. Tell me what you're finding, and for people who don't understand how that process works, explain it for them.
Yeah. I'll say the first thing that got me really excited about DOGE was learning basically the state of government computers. By some estimates, government IT costs about $100 billion, and it's funding systems that are over 50 years old. In the case of something like...
Some of that don't make any sense to most people. Let me kind of break that down. What he's saying is that the computers are so old that we're still paying the same amount of money for the computers, which is $100 billion. I think that's what he said. You're paying for old computers that are not working, not doing the job that they should do. They didn't modernize anything. So I want to let him finish, but I think that you need to hear that. And also on the fire thing, on the mountain of paperwork for VAs, anybody that's getting the VA that's part of the VA can understand that, because at one time, and I think it's in Indianapolis where they housed all our paperwork, it caught fire. All that paperwork was up there and it caught fire. What happens if it happens there? So the process is taking forever for you to retire. So I say everybody got a number. So when you get ready to retire, what if you need to retire, medical retirement, something's wrong in your life so you still not going to receive a check until 6 or 7 months later? That don't make any sense. So help me understand, help yourself understand. Don't believe me. Go out there and look at it for yourself. Research it and find out. Here we go.
Social Security or the IRS. So really critical systems are old. They cost a lot of money to maintain, and they can be, the efforts to improve them are often very delayed. So I thought I'm a software engineer that maybe can make a difference here, and that's really what inspired me at a high level.
There's a lot of mystery about Social Security and a lot of words about it here's what Democrats have been saying about it.
It's absurd that Elon Musk is trying to eliminate billions of dollars from Social Security.
Elon Musk and President Trump have set their sights on cutting Social Security.
Their goal is clear: destroy Social Security from within.
You're in the building. I mean, you're in the computers. What's happening there? What are you doing?
Yeah, it doesn't line up with my experience on the ground. And I'll say the two improvements that we're trying to make to Social Security are helping people that legitimately get benefits, protect them from fraud that they experience every day on a routine basis, and also make the experience better. And I'll give you one example is at Social Security, one of the first things we learned is that they get phone calls every day of people trying to change direct deposit information. So when you want to change your bank account, you can call Social Security. We learned 40% of the phone calls that they get are from fraudsters.
40%.
That's right. Almost half.
Yes, and they steal people's Social Security is what happens. Is they call in, they say, they claim to be a retiree, then they convince the Social Security person on the phone to change where the money's flowing. It actually goes to some fraudster. This is happening all day, every day. And then somebody doesn't receive their Social Security, it's because of all the fraud loopholes in the Social Security system.
How do you reassure people that what you all are doing is not going to affect their benefits?
No, in fact, what we're doing will help their benefits. Legitimate people, as a result of the work of DOGE, will receive more Social Security, not less.
I didn't hear that. Did you receive more Social Security? Plus, the way that our older people are being defrauded out of their money, it's so simple as a telephone call to Social Security and having your Social Security number and having them misroute your money. Now, your money that's already gone to the fraudsters, you know, I don't know how they recover that. That would be a question. Do you go back and get back pay because they took your money and it wasn't you? That's something that's going to have to be discussed at a later time. But what if your grandmother, me? What if I didn't get my Social Security check? What if anybody else that's out there that didn't get a Social Security check out there? And what if this happened to them? And the only thing they had to do was make a call and have your Social Security information to go through the Social Security agency. It's something wrong that needs to be changed. And that's the reason why I say it's not a Democratic problem. It's not a Republican problem. But we need to identify that there's a problem. We need to identify.
Emphasize that. As a result of the work of DOGE, legitimate recipients of Social Security will receive more money, not less money.
All right.
I want to emphasize that point and let the record show that I said this, and it will be proven out to be true. Let's check back on this in the future.
So, Washington Post, the Social Security Administration website crashed 4 times in 10 days this month because the servers were overloaded, blocking millions of retirees and disabled veterans from logging into their online accounts. Freaked people out. Is that going to change?
Yes, we're going to make sure that the website stays online.
Yeah. I mean, but is it a result of going in there
No.
or something you're doing?
No. The amount of issues that were the Social Security system are enormous. As an example, there are over 15 million people that are over the age of 120 that are marked as alive in the Social Security system.
And that's an accurate figure.
Yeah.
What? I want y'all to listen to what he say. 15 million over the age of 120. How many 20-year-olds do you know that's around you? How many? I don't have one around me. My family, they don't live that long. How many of you other people that's out there in the audience, like I say, don't kill the messenger. Listen to what the messenger is saying. Listen to what he's saying about Social Security. If you take those people off the roll that ain't no longer here, that's still drawing a check, maybe Social Security ain't gonna go away as fast as you think it is. Maybe it'll last past your kid's lifetime. Maybe it has opportunities to survive. But if you're still paying out checks for people that's 100 and over 120 years old, it's something wrong with the system. You know, people say, oh, I hear DOGE, and I'm kind of scared what they do. But if they going after what they say, the truth hurts, but we got to do it.
Yes.
Correct.
15 million.
Correct. This has been something that's been identified as a problem. Again, pre-existing problems since 2008, at least, from an IG report. So there were some great people working at the Social.
Stop, because you don't want to miss that part. They did an IG report before DOGE even went in there. So if you know anybody that's been in Congress since 2008, that's been in the Senate since 2008, that's been in charge since 2008, they knew it. An IG report identified there was a problem, but they didn't change it. Don't kill the messenger. Listen to what he's saying. It's in black and white. You can go find the IG report if you want to. It's up to you.
Social Security Administration that found this, 2008, and nothing was done. And so 15 to 20 million Social Security numbers that were clearly fraudulent were floating around that can be used only for bad intentions. There'd be no way to use those for good intentions. And so one of the things the DOGE team is doing is carefully and very methodically looking at those and making sure that any fraudulent ones are eliminated.
Brad Smith, working at HHS, and obviously another element is Medicare and Medicaid, NIH. What are you finding?
Yeah. Well, I'd say there's a couple of things we're really committed to in our work at HHS. Number one, making sure we continue to have the best biomedical research in the world. And number two, making sure, which President Trump has said over and over again, that we 100% protect Medicare and Medicaid. But there's a lot of opportunity. So if I take NIH as an example, today, if you're an NIH researcher and you get a $100 grant at your university, today you get to spend 60 of that and your university spends 40 of that. The policy that we're proposing to make is that you get to spend 85 of that and your university spends 15. So that's more money going directly to the scientists who are discovering new cures. Another example.
That was important because you see how much the colleges are getting for research, and where majority of the money is going to is going into their pocket. That's the reason why, and I'm gonna go here. That's the reason why those major universities that get those grants and they constantly pursue those grants. That's the reason why they outgrow smaller universities that don't get an opportunity. But you see, when they advertise that they're giving a grant to a smaller university, they make a big doo-ha about it. They make a big doo-ha about it. Since I'm in Houston and closer to these two colleges, Prairie View, Texas Southern, but they don't talk about the ones that's going to Rice, U of H, Texas Longhorns, Texas Tech, because they're getting more. And they're using 40% of the grant that they get from the government for their school, not going into the project. The project is only getting 60%. I'm telling you, don't kill the messenger. Just listen. You're going to learn something.
Example at NIH is today they have 27 different centers. They got created over time by Congress, and they're typically by disease state or body system. There's 700 different IT systems today at NIH.
700 different IT systems.
IT software systems.
They
can't speak to each other.
And so they don't talk to one another.
They have 27 different CIOs. And so when you think about making great medical discoveries, you have to connect the data.
Time out. You said 27 different chief information officers?
He kind of breaks this down, but I need to break it down a little bit further for you. So if you got all these universities out there getting this money, what if they're getting money for the same reason? They're doing the same research, but one has a discovery and the other one doesn't know about it because, you know, they got their money. They ain't trying to talk over. They ain't trying to discuss it with nobody else. But the government has funded. No, let me break it down so you can understand. Your tax dollars have been spent to all these different universities to get this resolved, and 40% of it off the top is going to the university, 60% of it is going to research, and they're not talking to one another about their project because they don't have a way to communicate. Sounds familiar. Sounds familiar. Let me see if I can break this down for normal people to understand. They've been telling us for years that they took slaves out of Africa. I'm gonna go this route because I need you to break it down so you can understand. But they laid them in the ship where neither one of them could communicate because they didn't speak the same language. And I know that doesn't mean the same thing as what's going on here. We're talking about computers. But you need to understand how disruptive this can be and how if you can't talk to a person that's laying in the ship next to you, how the hell you gonna get off of there? You can't even plan an attack because you don't even understand each other. I know I'm digressing. Let's go ahead a little bit further.
Correct.
And most of them are non-technical.
So there's a lot there. Is what you're saying.
There's a lot of opportunity. It will make science better, not worse.
And when I say that our job is tech support, I really mean it.
Yeah.
We have to fix the computers. If the computers can't talk to each other, you can't get research done. If the computers can't stay online, people won't receive their Social Security. So what we have here are a bunch of failing computer systems that are preventing people from receiving their benefits, that are preventing people from preventing research from happening, that are extremely vulnerable to fraud, and we're fixing it.
And does that include AI? Does that include kind of changing the system overall? That's, I guess, what people are afraid of, is they don't know what this is all looking like, and is it going to affect me in the long term?
It's going to affect them. It's going to affect people very positively. So the changes that we're doing here will ensure the solvency of the American government, of the United States of America. This is what we're trying to do: is ensure that people do receive their benefits in the future. And you can only receive your benefits if the country is operating in a healthy and competent way.
Up next, how the DOGE team plans to streamline some federal jobs and agencies. And later, Elon Musk answers some of your questions that you asked via X. Anthony Armstrong, DOGE, Office of Personnel Management, you're Morgan Stanley banker, M&A guy.
Yeah.
You know money, and this is a lot of money sloshing around.
There's a lot of money sloshing around. There's a lot of money sloshing out the door. And if you look at the federal government and the way the workforce works, it's really a one-way ratchet over decades. So
it's only going up.
It's only going up. You never take it away. So that leaves you with duplicative functions. It leaves you with overstaffing, and it leaves you with functions in the wrong places. So a couple of examples. Duplicative functions. Brad mentioned 27 CIOs. If you kept going with Brad, he would talk about the communications office. I think you've got 40 distinct communications offices in HHS, right? Yeah.
40?
Yeah, and that's not unusual, by the way. Multiple offices like that.
It's also not making anyone healthy.
This is not about the employees there. There's many hardworking, well-meaning people who took these jobs. These jobs were out there. They applied for them. They took them. They're doing what's there. It's just that they're duplicating the effort of 40 offices. So you've got that. You've got overstaffing. A good example of overstaffing would be the IRS has got 1,400 people who are dedicated to provisioning laptops and cell phones. So if you join the IRS, you get a laptop and a cell phone, you're provisioned. So if each of those IRS officers or employees provisioned 2 employees per day, you could provision the entire IRS in a little more than a month. So 12 times a year, you can
re-provision. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you have 1,400 people whose only job it is to give out a laptop and a phone?
Right. The whole IRS could be handled.
But remember the messaging that's coming out? Or they destaffing the IRS. They taking away your agencies so they don't have to investigate the people with the big tax dollars. They doing this. But do the arithmetic and listen to what he's saying. Again, don't destroy the messenger. Listen sometime. And use do your own research. Follow it up and see if that's true. Don't just take their word for it. You can use their report. You can go do it yourself. But don't sit there and listen to the talking heads on this internet. They're not making any sense and it's not going anywhere. And most of all, get your news from a source that you can go back and research it. Just don't listen to one type of news, one media that you feel comfortable with. Find out what they're doing on the other side sometime, and then go back and research it for yourself. Don't wait for somebody to come out and research it for you, and then you say, man, you know, they were right. They were right. It sounds like somebody that said, I didn't vote because I didn't like the choices, but they still complaining.
Once a month. So that doesn't make any sense. And President Trump's been very clear. It's scalpel, not hatchet, and that's the way it's getting done. And then once those decisions are made, there's a very heavy focus on being generous, being caring, being compassionate, and treating everyone with dignity and respect. And if you look at how people have started to leave the government, it is largely through voluntary means. There's voluntary early retirement, there's voluntary separation payments. We put in place deferred resignation, the 8-month severance program. So there's a very heavy bias towards programs that are long dated, that are generous, that allow people to exit and go and get a new job in the private sector. And you've heard a lot of...
I'm going to say it for him. You heard a lot of BS out there where they're saying these people are just being cut loose. They don't have any money. They don't have nowhere to go or anything like that. If you've been there a while, they're telling you, if you're in a position where you earn some money, or if they're letting you go because your position is redundant, they have packets. It's easy to say that these people are being put on the street. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. But they're not going out empty-handed is what he's saying. If they've been there for, and they got their packets, if they've been there for a period of time, you can't take away their retirement. They have their retirement that's in place. Maybe they didn't want to retire. But if they're going, they're getting something. And I don't hear anybody talking about that side of it. I hear them talking about they putting them on the street. They don't have nothing. They can't feed their family. They can't do this. Don't sound like that's the case. In all situations. Not all. Not some, not all. It don't sound like that's the case.
A lot of news about rifts, about people getting fired. At this moment in time, less than 0.15, not 1.5, less than 0.15 of the federal workforce has actually been given a RIF notice. So
they're selected if they're leaving.
It is
basically almost no one's gotten fired. That's what we're saying.
Tom Krause, working at Treasury, you are having access to the payment system, oversees all the outgoing payments. Essentially, those payments were going places we didn't know where they were going, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case, Brett. As an ex-CFO of a big public tech company, really what we're doing is we're applying public company standards to the federal government. And it is alarming how the financial operations and financial management is set up today. There is actually really only one bank account that's used to disperse all monies that go out of the federal government.
Time out. One bank account.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. A couple weeks ago, it had $800 billion in it, but it's the Treasury General account. So when you hear, some of my colleagues here, what they're talking about in terms of the fraud, you have to ask, well, why is this allowed to happen at a financial level? Well, it's actually quite simple but alarming. The Treasury, up until now, and thanks to President Trump, we're fixing this. In fact, there's an executive order that he just signed the other day, which is protecting America's bank account, because it really is the taxpayers' money. One, we're changing the culture. The culture is been not a lot of caring and not a lot of commitment to doing what's right relative to financial operations. There's a $500 billion of fraud every year. There's hundreds of billions of dollars of improper payments, and we can't pass an audit. The consolidated financial report is produced by Treasury, and we cannot pass an audit. We have material weaknesses. What that means is that if I was a public company CFO, I would effectively be removed. I couldn't file financial statements. I couldn't issue securities, which of course we depend on. Can't pass an audit.
Right. The federal government cannot pass an audit. It's impossible. In fact, in order to pass an audit, you need the information necessary to pass an audit. You need to have the payment codes, you need to have the payment explanation, and you need to have a person you can contact to understand why that payment was made. None of those things were mandatory.
Yeah.
Let me just interject here, so normal people can understand. If you owed the IRS money, they knew that you owed them money. If you owed any government agency money, or you defrauded any government agency, they want their money. If you was in the service, and I'm gonna use this example, if you was in the service and you was on the field maneuver, and they told you to check the oil before you went out on that field maneuver, and you driving a vehicle, it doesn't matter what it is, and it gets out there and that engine burns up. See, this is the part they don't tell you. They hold you accountable because they have what's called PCMS on every vehicle. Before you get into it, you have to run a full PCMS on that particular vehicle that you're going to drive. And within that PCMS, it tells you to check the water, the coolant, the tire pressure, and stuff like that, the signal lights and everything. So if you get out there and those things were checked off, and they find out that that engine blew on because you didn't check the oil, you really didn't check it. You just went out there and got in the vehicle. They're going to make you pay for that vehicle. Whether they have to deduct it out of 2 paychecks, 3 paychecks, or whatever. They're not concerned about how much money is going to your family. I'm just telling you that it's a military guy. If you don't believe me, ask some of those guys that's in the military that's been in those departments or was responsible for tracks or vehicles that blew up. But our government can take that same money that they collected from you to pay for that motor and spend it anywhere they want to. Without no regulation, nobody saying anything, nobody held accountable, and they can't do an audit on it because it's no information there. But if the tides were reversed for you, they would have documentation, times, everything. They would check, back check, recheck, do everything. Don't you want that don't you want that for your federal dollars that's going in and out of the country? Don't you want that? Don't you want somebody to come in and review it every once in a while and see if that's even effective? And if it's not effective, let's do it a different way. I would, but don't seem like our government does. Let me hurry up because I want to get out here within an hour. I got about 4 more minutes. I might run over, but I need to get this out.
Until just recently, just a few weeks ago. In fact, maybe last week?
Yeah, we're serving 580 plus agencies. And up until very recently, effectively they could say make the payment and Treasury just sent it out as fast as possible. No verification. And so what we're doing is what any household would do. But imagine you're a household, you have a bank account, everyone has an ATM card connected to that account, everyone has a checkbook connected to that account. It's not just your children, it's not just your parents, it's your in-laws, it's your extended family, and they all can go to the account and disperse funds. No questions asked, no justification, no verification.
Up next, the DOGE team targets government contracts, and we'll show you what they're finding. Tyler Hassan, Interior Department, you're a former oil company CEO. You're reviewing contracts before they're approved for funding. What are you finding?
Well, Elon and Steve kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I actually found that customer service survey contract. I actually have an example of one right here. I could have done this in high school. And
Is that right?
I found it.
Is that bad?
I found it on the weekends because under the Biden administration, there was no departmental oversight within the Department of Interior whatsoever. None. We even now.
Wow, I'm sorry. They still run ads in this, and that's my fault. I can't get to it. But I need you to listen and focus on the information.
Every single contract, every single grant, and when things come to my attention that don't make sense, I'm bringing them to Secretary Burgum, and he's been fantastic. He's a businessman. He's very supportive of DOGE. It's been wonderful to work with him.
Is the battle between government of decades and decades of buildup and business, which you guys are, is that like a train hitting each other? I mean, it seems like it's pretty disruptive.
Well, this is a revolution, and I think it might be the biggest revolution in government since the original revolution. But at the end of the day, America is going to be in much better shape. America will be solvent. The critical programs that people depend upon will work, and it's going to be a fantastic future. But are we going to get a lot of complaints along the way? Absolutely. You know, one of the things I learned at PayPal was you know who complains the loudest and with the most amount of fake righteous indignation? The fraudsters. It's a tell.
Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. We're gonna run over on this. I know I'm gonna lose y'all on Instagram soon. But we're going to run over on this. I already see we're going to run over. Now, if you listen to the media says that he says that you know, the biggest problem is fakesters and Social Security and all the rest of that. He said when he headed PayPal, the ones that screamed the loudest, PayPal, not the government. You need to understand. I just lost y'all on Instagram. If you want to go out to YouTube, you can go out to YouTube and you can still hear it out there, because I got to get this out. I got to finish this because, and then I want you to follow up, go with the second report tonight. Again, don't crucify the messenger. Only listen to the messenger, because only listen to the messenger. Don't crucify who's bringing it. I want you to understand what he just said. In every cut that's out there, I just lost Instagram again. In every cut that's out there, they're saying that's what he was talking about: Social Security, VA, and all the rest of that. You just heard the words out of his mouth. He was talking about when he was PayPal, in charge of PayPal, but somehow it gets interpreted the wrong way. And let me say this again, if you're still with me. I'm not Democrat or Republican. I'm only about the truth. And if the truth is coming out, I don't care who it's coming from. We gotta go with it. We're going a little bit further. I got to get y'all. It's one part in here I need y'all to hear, because it's relevant to everything that's going on.
These NGOs that are crazy, like the $2 billion to Stacey Abrams' NGO that basically didn't exist, and suddenly gets $2 billion awarded from the federal government. She has why? And there are many such cases like that.
I think that most people, common sense-wise, would say the fraud's got to end.
I want to go back because I heard my girl's name and I got on her hat, so I want to hear. I want to hear this.
Or
let's go back just a little bit, if y'all don't mind.
Right. And what we're trying to say is, well, this is a revolution, and I think it might be the biggest revolution in government since the original revolution. But at the end of the day, America is going to be in much better shape. America will be solvent. The critical programs that people depend upon will work, and it's going to be a fantastic future. But are we going to get a lot of complaints along the way? Absolutely. You know, one of the things I learned at PayPal was you know who complains the loudest and with the most amount of fake righteous indignation? The fraudsters. It's a tell. There's some of these NGOs that are crazy, like the $2 billion to Stacey Abrams' NGO that basically didn't exist, and suddenly gets $2 billion awarded from the federal government. She has why? And there are many such cases like that.
I think that most people, common sense-wise, would say the fraud's got to end.
Yeah.
They're concerned about the 94-year-old mother who skips a check or somehow doesn't get what she's supposed to get.
Right. And what we're trying to say is actually that the 94-year-old grandmother is actually, as a result of DOGE's work, going to get her check. She's not going to be robbed by fraudsters like she's getting robbed today. And the solvency of the federal government will ensure that she continues to receive the Social Security checks, that Medicare continues to work, without which we're all doomed. The reason we're doing this is because if we don't do it, America's going to go insolvent. We're going to go bankrupt, and nobody's going to get anything.
Why are you guys all doing it? I mean, you can pipe up, but you don't have to be here, right? I mean, you don't have to be doing this.
I have blessed with 4 beautiful children, my wife and I. But we have a real fiscal crisis, and this is not sustainable. And what's worse, back to my children and everyone else's children, is we are burdening them with that debt. And it's only going to grow.
Steve, there's not a lot of hierarchy here. You guys are kind of all approaching it in different, silos, but with the same kind of goal, right? I mean, this is really Silicon Valley private sector colliding with government.
Yeah, exactly. We're headed in a bad path, but then the chance of success exists. And just the one that just is in my head right now, which is a fairly mundane one, but I think is very illustrative, is credit cards. There are in the federal government around 4.6 million credit cards for around 2.3 to 2.4 million employees.
Did you get that? That's the part that I want you to get. Whew. in any company where that existed, how long will they last? In your company is out there, how long will that last? But because you think that you got endless money, and those are credit cards. So they have other things attached to them. They have interest attached to them that the government has to pay. Your tax dollars has to pay. But I think that's about 2 or 3, 2.5 per person out there floating around in government. Think about that. I'm going to get back. I don't want y'all to think I forgot about that Stacey Abrams thing. I'm kind of curious about that one, so I'm going to have to investigate that. I'm going to have to do a show on that too.
This doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so one of the things all of the teams have worked on is we've worked with the agencies and said, do you need all of these credit cards? Are they being used? Can you tell us physically where they are?
I hope they're getting frequent flyers.
Actually, on a different note, the rewards program the federal government has is actually not very good. That's a whole other...
It's a negotiation.
Sorry, yeah, exactly. But so far, the teams have worked together, and they've reduced it from 4.6 million to 4.3 million. So
we're taking it easy.
Yeah.
But clearly there should not be, more. There should not be more credit cards than there are people. Yeah.
Joe, middle-level employees, are they seeing a benefit to being empowered by taking out bureaucracy? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, I think what you're seeing is taking the best of Silicon Valley and the business world and bringing it into the government. We're bringing the best practices and the best methodologies, and people are inspired. Right, especially on the retirement process, which I can speak to. They've been trying to modernize and get off of paper since early 2000s, very unsuccessfully. Every attempt has gone over budget and been canceled because it hasn't been successful. And so, I showed up and I feel like I'm here because it's an interesting problem. We can use design to solve it and good engineering and really create a better experience for everybody.
We're talking about elementary financial controls that are necessary for any company to function. So, like, if the federal government, if a commercial company operated the way the federal government does, then it would immediately go bankrupt. It would be delisted. The officers would be arrested. And the changes we're putting in place will enable the federal government to pass an audit. It will enable taxpayers to know where the money is going and know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent well. The ways that the government is defrauded is that the computer systems don't talk to each other. So if the computer systems don't talk to each other, then you can exploit that gap. And fraudsters exploit that gap to take advantage. For example, there were over $300 million of Small Business Administration loans that has been given out to people under the age of 11.
Well, actually, to add to it, it's 300 million under the age of 11 and over 300 million to over the age of 120.
Definitely
small business loans.
Correct.
Yes.
You heard that, didn't you? That wasn't Democrat. That wasn't Republican. That was what was going on. And they're going to break it down just a little bit further so you can understand why we should have somebody that's in government, not a so-called agency, because, and I'm going to tell you, every administration up until this one has had a budget committee. What have they been doing? Where has our tax dollars been going if up until this point, this problem still exists today? That's what you should be up in arms about. Not asking them, not asking a Democrat or Republican or what's better. Be up in arms about this issue. Be up in arms about the issue of the credit cards. Be up in arms about everything else. Because if they had a budget committee in every presidency before this one, why didn't they do it? Why? That's the question you should be asking. And I listen to Byron Glass. He's an independent. Pastor Riggins is independent. And most of the people that's out there, even D, say, you know what? I'm tired of these Democrats and Republicans. I need the pick the best person to put in the office. Not a Democrat, not just straight Democratic ticket, because that doesn't work anymore. You lied to us. Republicans, you lied to us. That's the reason why you don't want this report to get out there. That's the reason why you want to stop these people from doing what they're doing. Because they're calling you out and letting you know that you haven't been doing anything. If you've been on a budget committee for any president within the last 30 years, you should be fired. You shouldn't. I hope you're not even in government. But I hope the record, as y'all like to say, the record go back and reflect that you wasn't doing your job. Because you wasn't bringing it to the attention of the president. And if you brought it to the attention of the president and they didn't do anything about it, I hope that we can get that information out too. It's something wrong in this country. It's not your dollars. It's everybody's tax dollars that you just taking for granted. Solve the problem. Don't look at the messenger, solve the problem. However it comes out, make it in black and white where people can go investigate what you're doing. Because if this kind of abuse is going on in our government, it's something wrong with us. It's something wrong with us.
The oldest American is 114. So it's safe to say if their age is 115 or above, they're fake. Or they should be in the Guinness Book of World Records. And we should not be giving out loans to babies. So the youngest recipient of a Small Business Administration loan is a 9-month-old, which is a very, very precocious baby we're talking about here. So obviously it was just fraudulent. And they do terrible things. They actually will see that a kid's been born. They will steal that kid's social security number and then take out a loan and leave that kid with a bad credit rating. There was literally a baby. A terrible thing.
I gotta say this. I'm gonna make sure I'm looking at the camera when I say this. Using a child's social security number because you done messed up yours, messes up them later in life. I'll never forget it. It's a YouTube video out there where somebody took their child's social security number and used it. That child knew nothing about it, graduated college, went through everything, and went to buy a house. And the person that used his social security was right next to him. And when he found that out, he couldn't even buy the house that he worked so hard to get. If you're using your child security number, I want to make sure I look at the camera. If you're using your child security number, it's high time that you tell them now. So they can kind of get it corrected when they get older and they're not looking at you as the person that you really are. Yeah, you gave birth to them, but you don't use their information because you messed up yours. And then you try to justify, well, that's how I took care of you. That's how I got there. No, you messed it up just like anybody else. You're accountable for it. And the only thing this person did was drop their head. And when we look at the camera again, you are accountable for them.
Things are being done, is what we're saying.
And how?
And we're stopping these terrible things.
And you can stop it? I mean,
Well,
we are stopping it.
The reason this is
Absolutely.
happening is because the two systems are not talking to each other.
Yes.
Right. And so you don't know at the Small Business Administration that you're giving a loan to a 9-month-old, which happened in one case, because you're not cross-referencing that with the Social Security Administration data that has birth dates. So that very, very simple fix eliminates tremendous fraud. And that there are multiple systems across the government where the systems are not speaking with one another. And if you just solve that simple problem, you would solve a huge amount of fraud.
Are you
so one of the ways that, like one of the key tricks that the fraudsters pull is that they will use the fact that someone is marked as live and as sort of just that social security number is marked as live in Social Security, and then get disability and unemployment insurance for a dead person. Because the databases don't talk to each other, all they got was from Social Security is like, is this person alive? Yes, they're not alive. It's falsely marked. Person is falsely marked as alive in Social Security, but they didn't. But that person, a fraudster can now get unemployment and disability from a dead person. This is happening all the time. at scale.
Are you
Ever wondered what your home looks like from space?
You know, I think you heard enough. I think you heard enough. I'm going to kind of end this because we've been on here a while. I want you to go out and research it for yourself. You know, I can do it. I can continue this, but it wouldn't be worth it. Because the points that they're made they're made so far is something that's not deniable. Something they're not pointing fingers. They're not going Democratic, Republican, or they're not saying anybody's responsible for it. I'm telling you who's responsible for it. Any budget committee that worked for any president, whether he was Democrat or Republican, is responsible for how we got here. Now, the thing that we need to do is stop it where it's at. Stop it where it's at. Don't let it continue. And if this is what it takes to stop it, I'm all in. I'm all in. Because it's going to get us another generation of our families through. It may give my grandkids the opportunity to do some of the things that I was able to do. It may not give their kids, but it may give my grandkids an opportunity to do some of the things they want to do in life. And I'm going to say this again, and I want to look at the camera and say it. If you're using your child security number, social security number, you need to stop. And this is not using your child security, social security number to pay an electric bill. This is not using your child's social security number to take care of household things, but you're using your child's social security number to secure SBA loans for businesses that you don't have. So as you get out there in that credit world and you telling people, well, you know, your business credit and your personal credit is separate from either one, but if you're using both of them and you by chance you're using your child's social security, stop it. Stop it, please. All right. I'm just about out. I'm sweating. Got all this stuff going on in front of me. I want to tell you, I don't care if one person is listening. By the time I break this up and make short side of it, since that's the only way you get your information anyway, I'm going to break it up and make short side of it, and I'm going to republish it. Stop using your child's social security number. It affects them in the long run, and if you're still alive, you're going to look foolish when they try to do something that's serious, and they need their own credit. I want to say thank God, and I hope you enjoyed it. I didn't do it in its entirety. There's a part 2 to this that's coming on tonight. Research, find out your own information. I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction, so I'm going to tell you, there's some things out there that we need to check out. There's some things out there that we need to hold people accountable for. And that's all I'm trying to do. We need to get away from these sugar-coated lies and people putting out their own information and all the rest of that, because it doesn't make sense. I'm going to tell y'all good night. Have a good time. I enjoyed the show. I'm glad I was able to get it out. I thought I was attacked by the government because I put that title out there and the power went out in my house. And if I was like everybody else, the first thing I would say, oh, they coming after me. They did. It was a conspiracy. Not true. Have a good one. Bye-bye.